Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet and Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Meowscarada on the channel, and you might be thinking, why on earth are we looking at this Pokemon in this current format? Well, it just won 2 tournaments, that's why. So we got to see what's up, and it just goes to show you, as if you have a niche role for a particular team, and if you are the perfect fit for that role, you can do well despite your struggles and despite your shortcomings, right? And that's the whole idea with a competitive team, right? You don't have to be the best Pokemon on the squad. You don't even have to come to every single battle, but the role that you have, given the correct matchup, that's the game you come, and that's the game where you can have an impact, right? Whereas the other 5 are relatively solid and can do the job that they need to do just overall against the rest of the meta. But Meowscarada here, so when we look at this Pokemon, like, why was it a struggle to use, like, even in Regulation C, right? Or forget about Regulation D, why was it a struggle in Regulation C? So the problem was it simply got outsped by stuff like Flutter Mane. It got outsped by stuff like Iron Bundle, right? And you're weak to both of those anyway, right? So that's a problem, right? This 123 speed stat, that's very, very good, but the problem is those other 2 Pokemon were actually just faster overall, and they had better options, better speed control, they hit harder. So in that sense, Meowscarada just couldn't really hang with those 2 options, right? Now, and then a bunch of other reasons, right? But now we fast forward even into a Regulation D. Now, it could do a little bit better, actually, right? And for a few reasons. One, there's a little bit less Iron Bundle, right? There's actually a lot less Iron Bundle because a lot of people are simply using stuff like Gyarados and Urshifu-Rapid Strike. Okay, these are, more premier options, right? Iron Bundle is, dipped a little bit, still very, very good, but again, it's just not as much prevalent as Regulation C. And then at the same time, there's still Flutter Mane more than ever, all right? So you still have that problem, but you can outspeed it now because a lot of these Flutter Manes are actually much slower because they're meant to have a little bit more bulk, which means they're sacrificing some of their speed, they're sacrificing some of their special attack stat to be bulky to survive the Chien-Pao, the Adamant Nature Chien-Pao stuff, the Sucker Punch, the Ice Spinner and stuff. So now Meowscarada can actually outspeed the Flutter Mane, which is good, right? So now, all of a sudden, Meowscarada can have a role on the team, right? But the problem is, what kind of team could utilize an aggressive grass type like this, all right? And then you just have to figure, like, okay, what are the 2 most common grass types right now? You have Rillaboom, okay, and you have Amoongus, right? And the honorary grass Pokemon, of course, is like Iron Hands. But, like, these 2 are your 2 most common options. And then what does Meowscarada give me that these 2 can't really give me? Or, like, does it give me enough where it can override the benefits of both Rillaboom and or Amoongus, right? So that's what you have to really look at. Okay, and then at the same time, we'll also look at the tournament teams just to see what kind of sets the Meowscaradas we're running. But just overall, like, in terms of what you can have here, of course, Overgrow as an ability is pretty good. So this way, when, you take some decent amount of chip damage, all of a sudden, your Flower Trick, which crits, just like Urshifu Surging Strikes, can all of a sudden do more damage. By the way, I don't like to say that this Meowscarada is like the grass version of Urshifu. I don't think that's correct at all. I think they're 2 very, very different Pokemon. First of all, Unseen Fist is broken. The fact that you can punch through Protect is very, very good. Okay, and then at the same time, just having 3 moves that crit is just very, very good. So I think they're 2 very, very different Pokemon. So that's not a fair comparison. You still get Sucker Punch though, so you get this kind of priority move. Stab Sucker Punch is pretty good. You also get Knockoff, Stab Knockoff. Whereas Rillaboom does like to run Knockoff, but it's not a stab move. So you have that going for you, right? And then at the same time, you can also just simply fit in Protect. But it also gets a few other cool moves. Like, this thing even gets access to Trick Room, by the way. And I think sometimes people forget that. And I don't blame them because nobody's using this Pokemon. But it does get access to this. So this could be useful in certain games. If you have, like, another Iron Hands on your team, for example, where you can kind of utilize that idea. But it also gets, like, Play Rough, if I understand this correctly. Like, this could do something as a little bit of a tech move here. But overall, like, this last move is really, really up in the air. You can even just simply put Protect here. But all in all, maybe even Substitute could be a play for this thing, right? Just hide behind a Substitute and then, like, just click Flower Trick again and again and again. So you have that going for you. And then you just have to look. Okay, look. For Rillaboom, like, I lose grassy terrain if I try to use Meowscarada. So that's not great. I do get a grass move that crits, but if you consider the damage from Wood Hammer, right, the base damage from Wood Hammer, which is base 120, then you combine this with grassy terrain, this Wood Hammer is actually doing a lot more damage than this crit flower trick, right? And you can even just pull it up in the damage calculator, right? So let's actually see that, just so that you guys understand why this thing doesn't get as much play as it does, right? So here we go, Meowscarada, 252 adamant natured, okay, right? So I can't even like fully guarantee a KO on like a semi-bulky Flutter Mane, right? This is only like 112 HP, 12 defense Flutter Mane. This is like a very old set that, you know, people used to run. It's not even like bulky. So adamant, which means you're sacrificing your speed, you know, 143 at the end of the day is not even like good enough to guarantee this crit, right? Now that being said, you do have access to Sword of Ruin, right? You can put you know, Meowscarada on the same teams as like Chien-Pao and do a little bit more damage, but then, you know, you can say, why can't I do that with Rillaboom, right? And now I'm actually doing even more damage with Rillaboom. So you have that going for you. But if you just even look at this, like, how about like a bulky adamant Mystic Water Urshifu, right? So like a little bit of HP and some defense, bro. Like I have to run, like if I was running Jolly, okay, I can't even like guarantee the crit against a bulky Urshifu, right? Stab super effective, right? Imagine that. Like even if I was adamant nature, like okay, now it's a pretty good roll, but like still, like come on, man, you're a strong grass type. But that's because, you know, Urshifu has pretty good defenses, and then this 110, you know, again we have it as crit. Like we still need the power of Chien-Pao to even like guarantee this, right? That's what bothers me a little bit. Like it's not like a guarantee against like Flutter Mane and Urshifu, which is what Rillaboom can give you with, you know, grassy terrain boosted Wood Hammers. So I think that's one thing that can really set it back. Now again, you are faster, so that's a plus. But at the same time, you actually want Rillaboom to be slower, right? Because your job is to be a bulky pivot and cycle your fake outs, right? So, you know, you might be glad going last because then that means you get a free switch with your U-turn. Whereas this thing, even though it does also get U-turn, okay, the fact that you're fast means like you go first, and then at the same time whatever comes in is taking that damage afterwards, right? Because you went first. So that could be a little bit more of a problem as well. And then, you know, you're just frailer. Like if you look at your bulkier, base 70 defenses, 76 HP, not like super bad, but like look at Rillaboom's defenses. 100 HP, 90 defense, right? So you're bulkier on the physical end, 70 defense, so 70 speed up. So the same speed up. So you're actually bulkier with the Rillaboom, okay? Base 125 attack, right? So, you know, Rillaboom's giving you a lot. And then at the same time, Rillaboom gives you fake out, okay? Meowscarada does not give you fake out, okay? So that's another thing that can also set it back as far as like Rillaboom. And then Amoongus, right? Redirection support, Rage Powder, right? Meowscarada doesn't give you that. Spore Pressure. Okay, Rillaboom doesn't give you that, but Amoongus does. And then at the same time, you're a cleric to the team, Pollen Puff. You can do that, all right? So you have that going for you, okay? If you want to have that, like a fast heal, that could be pretty good in that sense, right? So maybe that could be another niche for Meowscarada, like a fast, you know, frail cleric, I would say. But, you know, you kind of want your clerics to be like bulky. So it's interesting, right? Like now you're kind of understanding and seeing why this thing gets held back, right? But and then at the same time, you know, you're still a grass type. You can get around an opposing Amoongus, and again, like I said, you still have this combination of Chien-Pao, but like so does Rillaboom. So it's just like, what can this thing do that Rillaboom can't give me already and more, right? So that's the main thing you have to just consider, right? So and then this dark typing, right? That's the other thing that can pretty much almost put the nail on the coffin. This dark typing basically makes you weak to fairy type moves, right? So something like Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, you know, from Flutter Mane, or something like Cresselia makes you weak to that. So you have to consider that. But then at the same time, like, okay, so then how did it win 2 turners? Well, let's take a look at the teams, right? But at the very least, we had to like spotlight and analyze just what, you know, Meowscarada can give you and what is the difference between this Pokemon and Amoongus at the given moment. Okay, so now let's look at the 2 tournaments here. So the first one that we're going to look is a recent Wide League tournament from Saiyan Bush here taking first place, and there is that Meowscarada. So basically, this is kind of what I figured. You would have Tornadus here with speed control. No Chien-Pao here, but there is Landorus here with Sandseer Storm. There's the Rain Dance. Urshifu-Rapid Strike and Meowscarada. So here's your crit water move. Here's your crit grass move. Focus Sash set. Makes sense. Overgrow, of course. Flower Trick, Sucker Punch, Knockoff, Protect. That's the set that you would probably have to really use if you wanted to like make good use of Meowscarada on this type of team. But basically, just be super aggressive with these two. And then at the same time, have Fake Out Pressure with Iron Hands. The main difference here is that, you know, Urshifu can just punch through a Protect when you do Protect against Fake Out. Whereas Meowscarada, like, okay, Fake Out comes in, Flower Trick in that slot, Protect. Okay, now what? Next turn, what do you do from here? So that's still something to consider. But then at the same time, you know, you just have to look, okay, look, I'm a fast option. I can still crit. I still have access to Sucker Punch, just like Chien-Pao, right? And I have a Stab Knockoff, which could be really good against something like a Cresselia. So you have to consider that. And then at the same time, you just have like Flutter Mane here with choice specs, just kind of chilling there, right? So overall, it's pretty cool team. I like the fact that there is an Iron Hands here with Fake Out Pressure along with Tornadus. I think that's like a pretty good starting point. Okay, so and then of course here's the Flutter Mane. I would like build with these four, right? And then these two are your flex slots. So I definitely still want a water type here, maybe even like a fire type here, maybe something like Hisuian Arcanine. But then, or even like Heatran, that could even be a play. But then where do you fit in the Chien-Pao, right? So that's something you have to like consider when you're trying to use Meowscarada, if you do consider trying to use it. But, you know, in essence, this is what it is. Now let's look at this tournament, the PokePal Smackdown. So this was a little bit of an older tournament, but it's still relatively recent. I think this was like a week ago. So here we go, Parker again here with first place. So there's the Hisuian Arcanine like we mentioned. And then there's a Rillaboom here. So there's actually two grass types here, which is very interesting. I guess the Fake Out Pressure is very much needed. But here we go, two grass types. There's Mouse Ape here, Goldango, and then here's the Hisuian Arcanine. So no Flutter Mane here, but this is a Focus Sash set yet again. Terra type Ghost, Flower Trick, U-Turn, Pollen Puff, Knockoff. Okay, so no Protect here, but you have the Pivot move, you have the Healing move, and you have another Stab Dark move. You know, again, another relatively standard move set. But now again, the question is, does it fit on this team, right? Like, okay, I already got Rillaboom. Do I really need Meowscarada on this team? What if I had, let's say, like Urshifu Surging Strikes? Would that be better, right? Then I have a Fire, Water, Grass core. So I'm curious to see or understand why Parker decided to add a second grass type here in Meowscarada, whereas like maybe you could have gotten the same value out of Urshifu. So maybe if Parker watches this video, he'll feel free to entertain our questions and our thoughts as to why this was on this team. But what can I really say anything, because he did actually get first place here. So one could beg to differ, you know, in terms of like accessing it, right? So from here, I guess what we can say is like, let's go back into the team builder and let's actually try and construct something where maybe we can make some good use out of Meowscarada. All right, so here we are. We're back here into the team builder. So I won't do like a full, you know, EV spread kind of thing. You know, I'll just like, you know, we'll do like open team sheet kind of thing. Let's just understand like the thought process of, you know, trying to build this. So we do like this combo of Meowscarada and Chien-Pao. I still think you need something like Tornadus here for the speed control, right? With the Tailwind support. Then you have Bleak Wind, Icy Wind, of course, for the mirror matchup, and then Protect, right? I think you still need this. You could even forgo the Protect and put something like Taunt. That also makes a lot of sense. But as far as like Meowscarada with this set, so I think you still, and then that's the other question. Like, okay, you're on the same team as Chien-Pao. Do you just literally go Hirafumi route and just go like Life Orb Chien-Pao here and then put Focus Sash on this, right? And then you just put Protect. So Flower Trick, Sucker Punch, Knockoff, and then Protect here. Is that the way to go about it? Maybe, right? Maybe Terra Ghost here. And then this is also like Terra Ghost. And then we just do something like Ice Spinner, or not even like Icicle Crash, right? But, you know, we don't really have Rillaboom on this team. So here, we're going to forgo the Rillaboom. So here's Ice Spinner, right? Then we have, of course, Sucker. We have Sucker Punch. Then we have Sacred Sword, and then Protect, right? Something like this. And then this will probably have something like Rocky Helmet, right? The Rocky Helmet set. The bold Rocky Helmet set. Then from here, where do you want to go? So we'll still have Flutter Mane, right? We'll still have Urshifu, okay? And then we still keep our Intimidate here. like here's the thing. Like, do you keep the Intimidate here? So you can go for something like Hisuian Arcanine, right? And this would be relatively fine. This is basically almost like Hirofumi 6, except there's a Meowscarada instead of the Rillaboom. So you do lose Fake Out Pressure, you lose Grassy Terrain, right? You get an aggressive option in Meowscarada. And then at the same time, you can also just consider Heatran here in this slot as another way of, you know, going about it. Or, you know, again, if you want to keep your Fake Out Pressure, you can still have access here to Iron Hands and just say, you know what, forget the Fire option, forget the Intimidate support. Let's just go Fake Out Iron Hands here, and then just go from here. So this is another way to like consider, and just something that I know I would think about. But as far as like, you know, not having Intimidate and not having Fake Out, you can see how the team kind of changes a little bit, right? So like, again, well, we do have Fake Out here, but no Intimidate to make the team bulky, you know, interesting, right? Well, you weren't really getting that with Heatran anyway, so it just begs the question here. So like, here's Flutter Mane, special attacker, physical, right? A little bit of special attack damage here. This one, you know, you can pretty much just do something like Booster Energy, Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, Shadow Ball, and then Protect, right? And then at the same time, or even like Substitute, right? This could even be like Substitute in terms of that, right? So like Flower Trick, Sucker Punch, sub Meowscarada. I don't even know if this is good, hey, but definitely knockoff, right? Urshifu, you know, because you forgo Taunt here, so now you have to kind of put it over on this slot. So like Taunt Urshifu was a thing, Surging Strikes, and then Aqua Jet. You can definitely do this. It's just like, you know, do you want to actually do this? Like Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, and then Protect here. Actually, we'll just put Taunt here and then Protect. All right, and then Mystic Waters, right? Just do a little bit more damage. Terra Water as something, and then Iron Hands, Assault Vest, Iron Hands. Again, this slot is like the one that's up in the air. It just really all depends on how you want to run it. You could even technically just put like Trick Room on this, right? Like Terra Ghost Trick Room. Like this could be like another added dynamic that Meowscarada can give you that Rillaboom can't. You know, just to like deny opposing Trick Room, right? But then at the same time, like, is it really worth it? Maybe. Right here, let's just put it. We'll put Trick Room. All right, might as well. And then that can potentially set up the Iron Hands, ideally. So, you know, you could probably just maybe do this. Fake Out, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, and then, you know, Heavy Slam. Something like this, right? And Terra Grass. And I won't really do EVs for this, but like, this is just, you know, kind of what I'm thinking if you want to like try and use Meowscarada. Just like an aggressive 6 with like standard options here, and then like a Meowscarada in place of like a Rillaboom. So, but you still keep the Fake Out here because you decided to put Iron Hands in this set. So like, can this work? Yeah, it could. Okay. Is it better than Rillaboom? I don't know. I don't really think so. I think Rillaboom is just overall a better Mon, because it just brings a little bit more tools to the table than Meowscarada can. That being said, there is a niche, okay, and it did have 2 results. So at the very least, that's already more results than a lot of other Pokemon. So we can't smack the Meowscarada so much around. But at the very least, can we put it in something like the C tier and a tier list for a niche? Yes, we can. All right, but overall, I think Rillaboom and or Amoongus are just the better options. But it was actually just overall cool to see Meowscarada top 2 tournaments. And at the very least, I wanted to at least spotlight it just to show you that, hey, this Pokemon can actually do something, even though it may not be the best grass option in the current format. All right, but let me know what you guys think of Meowscarada, and you know, if you want to maybe even build this team with me, you know, if you like it enough, you know, sign up for coaching, and then we'll give you some EV spreads for this. Actually, no, I won't even do coaching for this. Like, if you want an EV spread for this 6, just message me on Discord. I'll give you an EV spread for free, no charge. All right, so but yeah, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.